If you're a triathlete who trains hard, cares about doing things properly, but you feel unsure whether your nutrition is actually supporting your training, then this podcast episode is for you. One of the most common patterns I see as a triathlon dietitian with more than 2 decades of experience working with age group triathletes now is the 110% effort that goes into the training side of things. You've got a coach, you've got a training program, you've got all the equipment that you need to be successful, and you train like a professional triathlete does. And you get your sessions done no matter what. Yet only a fraction of that same effort goes into the fueling side of things. Not because you're lazy, not because you're uninterested, and definitely not because you're not smart enough, but because eating for 3 sports is complex, and most triathletes have not been taught how to do it well. Joining me today are 3 TNA athletes at very different stages of their triathlon journey, different ages, different racing backgrounds, different goals, but all of them joined the TNA program for the same reason. They all wanted to understand how to fuel properly for 3 sports. You'll hear from Jo, who is a bit newer to triathlon than the others. She absolutely loves racing and she gives Erin a run for her money in that stakes. And she wanted a way to automate her nutrition so that she could just race confidently without constantly worrying if she was getting it right or wrong. You'll hear from Kelly, who is a masters athlete and is the leanest and fastest he's ever been in his entire life and is performing better in his 60s than ever before. And you'll hear from Erin, who's been a triathlete for about 10 years now, but discovered that nutrition was the missing link, and her biggest breakthroughs in performance and long-term body composition change as a result of getting that right. These are real athletes with real training loads and very real lives outside of triathlon, just like you. Their journeys all look different, but there is a very similar thread that runs through all of them. If you're sick of conflicting advice from coaches, podcasts, blogs, training buddies, YouTube, and you want expert, evidence-backed advice from somebody who actually understands our sport, then you can join the Triathlon Nutrition Academy at dietitianapproved.com/academy. Inside the program, you'll learn the how, the what, and the why of fueling so that you can build a personalized strategy that fits your training, your lifestyle, your goals, and your race calendar. Let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast, you total legends. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. To get started, I wanted to do a rapid fire run around the room, and can you all please give me your name, where you're located, how long you've been doing triathlon for, what distance you love to race, and maybe one word that describes how you feel about your nutrition now that you've got it dialed in. Jo, let's start with you.
So I'm Jo Hurley. I'm from Gold Coast, Australia. I am a newbie. I'm a rookie in triathlon. Although time is going fast, it's been about 2.5 years. I really love to do the Ironman 70.3 distances. I've managed to do 6 of the Oceania races so far and the World Champs recently, which is really cool. How do I feel? What's one word to describe my nutrition now? Dialed in.
Yeah, that's 2 words.
It's a hyphen.
Okay. Thank you. Kelly, you're up next.
Yeah, my name's Kelly Estes. I'm from Idaho in the United States. I've been doing triathlon for a little over 4 years now. My favorite distance is 70.3. I've done a lot of the Olympic distance and about probably closer to a dozen of 70.3s and 1 full Ironman distance. 70.3 is the sweet spot for me right now. And the one word that describes my nutrition is confidence.
Nice. Erin?
And I am Erin Burge. I am currently located in Florida, but often live in North Carolina, also in the United States. I have been doing triathlon actually this is my 14th year.
Oh, what?
And yep, I was 10 years in-ish when I met you, so I can see where you got 10 years from. So yeah, I actually hit my 100th race this past year, and I don't think I could pick a favorite distance. But I guess if I had to, probably 70.3 as well. I don't have to run, especially 70.3. And now that I have the nutrition aspect dialed in, I would just say strong.
I love all of those words. I love that they're all different words too. Thank you so much for just setting the scene around who you are and where you're from. I know that a lot of triathletes listening are at all different parts of their journey. They may have only just started. It feels like you've only just started, Jo, but you're right. You're at least 2 years in now. And same as Erin. Like Erin was like around 10 years in, and now look at her go. I feel like time is flying by, but everyone loves the 70.3 distance, turns out. So maybe we have a bias there before we get started. My favorite is Olympic distance. Too much running and this body doesn't really hold up, but maybe 70.3 aquabike I could give a go.
Yeah, that's the best.
So for you, Jo, when you first started and before you joined the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, what did fueling for 3 sports actually feel like for you day to day as somebody that is new or was new to the sport?
So I kind of came from a background of no swimming, no riding, no running. I was a gym girl. Couldn't do any of those sports. And so fasted training was like something that I was really used to. I wasn't actually used to eating before training. I was more focused, I guess, on refueling after. But fasted training was just my habit, basically. When I started getting into triathlon, I found myself lost very quickly in trying to like listen and learn, just in that rookie mindset of like from people around me. But they were like mostly men, different ages, like just completely different body composition, hormones, everything. Like at the time when I first started, 46-year-old woman going through perimenopause and all those kinds of things, like immediately I knew that what I was doing didn't really make sense for me and my body. And I was struggling. I was very underfueled. And even researching some of the, I guess initially listening to the podcast and different things that I was listening to, I could tell that underfueling was not setting me up well. And I could be facing injuries pretty early in the journey if I didn't get on top of it.
And was that something you were worried about might happen if you did get your nutrition wrong now that you've started doing all these different sports that your body's not used to?
Initially, I wasn't worried at all, but I had other people kind of looking at what I was doing in sessions and like expressing a bit of concern. And so it was probably them more so saying, you know, I could have easily gone along oblivious and just been focused on learning the actual sports themselves versus nutrition. But, you know, I bonked on a few rides, like especially group rides, you know, you've got people that are kind of looking out for you as well. And it was obvious that I didn't really have any plan, and a lot of the time I had very little on me as well.
Do you think there's a lot of newer triathletes listening who feel exactly the same way as that right now?
Oh yeah, I see a lot of confusion and just a lack of confidence, you know, and a bit of insecurity too, like not really knowing who to ask or being a bit like embarrassed to ask what are people eating and how much should I eat and all that kind of thing. It's just not something that really gets talked about in a healthy way, I think, in those training environments. I actually experienced a lot more unhelpful conversations around like, you know, I can eat whatever I want, you know, because I'm doing all this training. And I inherently knew that wasn't true. Like I knew that I couldn't just suddenly start eating whatever, because I would definitely gain weight if I started eating, you know, just packing on egg and bacon rolls on the group rides and croissants and stuff like other people were doing. And some guys especially can get away with that, but I knew dead set that would not be a good idea for me. So yeah, the idea that you can eat anything and without any talk about what is the right things and the right time is pretty common and pretty unhelpful.
Yeah, there is a lot of that out there, unfortunately. It's a very noisy space, I find. Triathletes are very opinionated.
Yeah.
And everyone's done a lot of work or, you know, spent some time in our sport to understand a few things that work for them, and are then really vocal about saying that everyone should try that because it's worked for them and it's great. And I really get frustrated by that because it might work for some people, but your nutrition is very much individualized to you, and you need to almost put your blinkers on when you're new because there's so much information out there coming at you on all different directions. It's hard to know what's right and what's wrong. So Kelly, as an engineer, you're the type of athlete that loves data, you love metrics, you've got a spreadsheet for everything, and you love doing anything that you can to improve your performance. Before joining the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, how confident were you that your nutrition was actually really supporting your training and recovery as a masters athlete?
Well, I wasn't confident at all, and I really had no idea what to be eating. I had been a runner most of my life. I had actually tried a couple of shorter distance triathlons quite a few years ago, and I knew I needed to have a good nutrition program. But when I started back in the triathlon this time around, which was in 2022, I didn't really have any idea what to do. And there were so many new products, so many new gels and powders and supplements. And I was buying a lot of that stuff and trying it, but I had no idea if I should be using a protein gel, which now, if I look at it, I'd cringe at the thought of something like that. But there was certain brands that had good marketing. And so, I was just getting started and I wasn't quite sure how it was going to help me. So I would just be trying stuff. A lot of my training, I didn't know what good felt like. I just would go out, do my training. Sometimes it was fasted. Sometimes I would take gels, but mainly it was just to kind of see if it worked, and usually some kind of caffeine so that I was enjoying it towards the end. I had no idea what to take. And so I started looking early on. And when I started training for the triathlon, I started looking early on for a program or any information that would help. And so I certainly was looking for some kind of holistic program that put it all together for me to make it easy, right? I wanted something easy to help me know what to do. It didn't take me long to find the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, but before that, it was such a mystery. And I was doing races and I was feeling like crap. And I was thinking, this is hard. There's got to be an easier way. So it was difficult. I think for everybody it's that way when they start.
Do you think there's a lot of masters athletes out there that are either one way or the other inclined with nutrition, in that they know how important it is in this age category and want to do everything they can to optimize that, versus others that think it's not worth it at their age, and maybe it's the 10th thing in a line of importances when it comes to starting triathlon or being good at triathlon?
Well, I think that word optimizing is something that you really don't understand, because when you start back in as a novice, from my perspective, you are looking at what are the other triathletes using, what gels, what products. You watch advertisements, you watch what pops up on your Facebook feed, you watch races and see what the pros are using. You try the stuff and see if it makes you feel better and you feel like you're doing the right thing. But there's all this mystery in that you don't know if it's the right thing, and you're certainly far from optimizing, and you're not even sure how to think about optimizing. You're far from optimizing. I mean, when you're early on, you're just trying to figure out, how do I get through all this training or get through a race without dying? That you get to the finish line. And, early on, my very first races, I remember crossing the first finish line of an Olympic, and the race director was there. It was a small local race. And I just looked over at him and I said, God, that's hard. That was really, really hard. I had no idea how nutrition would make it better, the experience better over time. But at the time, I wasn't thinking of nutrition helping as much as it does.
So, Erin, you've been a triathlete for 10 years when I first met you, and now you're clocking 100 races, which is just insane. You also love to race. I think you and Joe have got a competition for how many events you can fit into one weekend, let alone the whole year. Why do you think, for you, being in the sport for that long, nutrition was the missing piece for so long? Why did you not tackle it earlier?
Oh, gosh, why did I not tackle it earlier? Because I didn't realize that it was an issue. I had spent those 10 years really yo-yoing. If I look back at pictures, there's years that I look emaciated, I'm so skinny, and there's years that I was carrying around twice what I needed to carry around. And it was kind of whatever my mindset that year was, this year was triathlon's job to help me lose weight, and this year triathlon's job is to let me eat whatever I want. So I definitely hit that roller coaster up and down several times in those 10 years. And most of the races at that point, I had done a full and maybe 5 or 6 70.3s at that point. But most of the races were sprints and Olympics, and you can obviously get away with a lot more at that point, at those distances. And I belonged to a club that, we were sponsored by a brand of gel that, they'd give the gels away at every meeting. So it's not like I wasn't taking in any sort of fuel. I just wasn't intentional about it. And taking in some fuel made me feel better than taking in no fuel. So I thought I had a plan. But once I started wanting to perform better, that's when I guess I started looking and wanting to know more.
I don't think you're alone in that. How many athletes do you think are stuck in that same cycle? In fact, a lot of people get into triathlon to lose weight. A lot of people might have a health scare or want to do all this extra exercise to lose weight and then still have no idea how to eat. And so it is this big up and down all the time. I don't think you're alone in that. What wasn't working for you, do you think, when it comes to nutrition? despite all of that training that you were doing?
Well, I think because I wasn't fueling intentionally, I wasn't absorbing the training. Like you said, I was doing a ton of training and a ton of racing. As a matter of fact, racing kind of became my training at that point. So lots of high intensity. And because I wasn't fueling it, I wasn't absorbing it. So, I mean, I was, as you describe in, many things, I was the tired triathlete laying on the couch taking a nap after a long run or a long ride every time I had one, because I just wasn't intentional about what I was taking in.
Yeah. And I think that's another important message too, is that training alone and a lot of training, a lot of racing is not enough if your nutrition is off. Like, your body's just not working properly. You're not actually getting to the goals that you want to achieve. And there's a much easier way that you don't need to be stuck on the couch all day after long sessions having a nap. So for you, Jo, how did learning to fuel properly change the way that you approach your racing and your training?
Well, my goal coming into the program was to try and automate the whole nutrition process for a race particularly. I do race a lot, as you said. It's nearly every weekend or every second weekend. And for me right now, that is my training as well. So because I love to kind of train in the wild, that race environment I find really exciting. And I learn a lot during a race environment from watching others, and actually just testing how I'm going and testing all the equipment and stuff. So for me, automating that process of preparing and basically executing my nutrition as part of the race was my biggest goal. When I was going into Marbella, my first world champs for the 70.3, I was amazed how little energy I needed to put into my nutrition plan, for the entire trip. I was actually really worried about the bike course. It was like the first time I really felt like there was a high chance of failure in a race. I did not know if I could get the bike course done within the time limit. It's not that whether I could get it done, but whether I could get it done in the time allocated, basically. And so because that was taking up a lot of my energy and attention was the bike course, and am I going to be able to do this? It was such a gift to not be even worrying about the nutrition side. Like, it was all just happening automatically. Even being in a foreign country, I'd recently kind of finished the program. So I felt so prepared, and that I could easily just make food decisions on the go right through the lead up to the race. And then on the day, I didn't talk to anyone about it. I just said to my coach, I've got it sorted. I had my plan written down. I'd executed it multiple times. I'd already done 3 70.3s with similar plans, practiced everything, and it just was no stress on the day. So I think that was the biggest testament for me for the decision to, kind of spend this time and invest in myself to be able to get to that point.
You had an amazing journey too to Marbella. Like, it's one of the toughest bike courses ever. For you to have that confidence to even go there and do that in a foreign country, you're traveling away from home, and tick off all the, cross the T's, dot the I's for your race nutrition plan was awesome.
It was great. Even having, I think, post-race, I knew what was in the bag, what I was going to have after. I didn't rely on what they were providing, and thank God I didn't, because it was just junk in there. It just wasn't what I needed, and I had that ready to go. I think post-race recovery nutrition is probably the most important, the most rewarding part, that you've prepared that, because when I get there, I'm not searching around going, oh, there's a choice between hot chips and, more sugar drinks that I do not want to touch whatsoever. I know that I've got my chocolate milk or my protein shake, my protein bars. I've got it ready to go, and I'm looking forward to it. It brings me back to life. Yeah.
That's good. You've got to have your thing. It's got to be, something that you want and will enjoy in that window, because you're not feeling particularly funky fresh at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, I just did the Dopey Challenge at Run Disney in Orlando. And that was 5K, 10K, half marathon and full marathon over 4 days. At the end of that marathon, my daughter, I was lucky I had my family there, and my daughter came up and she was like, oh, do you need anything? I was like, milkshake, get me some chocolate milk immediately. And it was honestly, it was the best reward at the end of that challenge. Yeah, I was very happy.
It looked like an awesome event to do. Erin, was there anything for you once you'd actually understood and learnt about nutrition through the program? Was there anything that you thought, I can't believe that I've been doing this so wrong for so many years?
If I say this, you hear this on all of your podcasts, but it's the recovery nutrition. I mean, sincerely, that's one thing I thought I was doing okay. Everybody thought they were doing it okay, and nowhere near. That's why I was dead on the couch after, because you got to do the recovery nutrition, not just after a race. You've got to do it after your workouts as well. And I just wasn't. I thought I was, but I was not.
Most people think they are. I reckon 99% of listeners are like, don't worry, I got this sorted. And then I show you how to do it properly with the right targets for you. And you're like, I was way off. Damn it. But you're right. It does make a huge difference to how you feel if you actually get that right. And that's why we do cover it first in the program, because I know that most people are walking around thinking they're doing a good job and they're not. Kelly, how did having the structure and the framework of the program change things for you compared to just kind of guessing your way through nutrition and winging what you were doing?
Having a way to calculate certain things was very helpful. And based on, what you were just talking to Erin about, I was thinking, nutrition is one of those things where there's not a way that I can just use a spreadsheet and know that I'm magically going to feel okay when I've done my training and stuff like that. That you still have this element of how am I feeling as you eat, am I eating enough? And it's based on your energy levels. Do you feel like you need to take a nap and things like that? And so with the framework that you provided and the tools that you provided, I am able to calculate things that get me pretty close, right? To where then after I get really close to the calculations, I can kind of feel and say, should I eat a little bit more after certain training sessions, or can I cut back? But you get a really good understanding of how your body responds to that kind of thing. When I first started triathlon, I didn't have any tools. It was a struggle. I was tired. I was coming back from training and taking the nap. You provided tools. I learned how to calculate things. I learned about sweat testing and sodium and carb intake and how to calculate those kinds of things. And from that, I started to get a feel for what should I have been doing that I hadn't been doing, prior to that I was really probably underfueling and not getting it right. I even had an app that I was using for quite a while. You're probably familiar with the Fuel-In app. I used that for quite a while, and the Fuel-In app is a good app in many ways. But what I discovered through Triathlon Nutrition Academy, once I learned how to calculate my own energy needs and I learned how to calculate my daily carb needs, I could compare it to the app and say, the app wasn't really getting me where I needed to be. They were different enough that through the education you provided to us, Taryn, I was able to look at it and say, something's not right, and I think I know what it is, because I'm able to calculate this stuff and I'm able to make the adjustments that I need to make. And that got me on the right track to where now I'm so very, very confident in what it is that I consume, that my energy needs are matched with my energy intake to where I seldom feel tired after training or even during training or in the mornings when I get up pre-training. I mean, I just have this routine that really works well for me. Having that structure and all the tools you provide that include like the athlete's kitchen, which the recipes and things like that, those kinds of things collectively have provided me the confidence that, or let's put it this way, when someone else tells me that I should be eating a certain target amount of carbs in a day, that I can look at that and say with confidence, either yes, you're right, or no, you're not, that it's off by a certain amount. And I understand why. I can critically evaluate all this other information and know what's right for me. So I don't need somebody else calculating something and telling me that this is what I should be doing. I mean, it's nice to have that. I'll still take that answer and look at it and say, well, for me, I need this because I know that I will feel good after the training or before. And so like, as Erin mentioned this also, that the pre-training, the during training, and the post-training recovery nutrition that you guys take, and, Joe spoke to this also. Knowing what that looks like and how to use it properly makes all the difference in your day-to-day training. So it's not just race day performance that you're focused on. It's every day. It's eating every day to match your energy levels and just keep you feeling good and able to consistently get up and do your training like you should.
It's such a good point, Kelly. And it's something that I talked about on the podcast recently about this whole wave of AI and apps that I know a lot of triathletes are using to help with them with nutrition, which is great. It's getting people thinking about nutrition. It's giving them something to follow. But I think the real world change and the long-term change comes from the education around that and then applying that to you as yourself, as an individual athlete, because you have the knowledge to look at that app and go, no, man, that's way off, or that's about right. Whereas a lot of athletes don't have that knowledge to have any sense of what those numbers mean. And I think that is really valuable for a triathlete when we do train a lot and we have 3 sports to fit into a week, and most people want to do this for a long period of time. If you actually understand why we do the things with nutrition and the strategy behind it, then you don't need an app to tell you what to eat every second of every day, because you'll know how to do it like Joe does on autopilot. Kelly, one of the things that I've loved to watch shift in you is your cooking skills, potentially. We could call them that. You know, you're a solo bachelor. You don't love cooking. You don't do a lot of cooking. How realistic has TNA been to apply for you when you don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen?
Well, so in some self-defense, I cook my own meals every day. I seldom go out to eat. I seldom get fast food. So I'm always cooking. It's usually in the microwave or the oven, but I prepare all my own meals from some kind of frozen, the things you buy at the grocery store and bring home, and I fix it myself. So it's not like I'm a disaster.
Think about what you were eating before. I say that example because your recovery nutrition, when we very first started, was all packaged foods. And now you prepare something yourself from the recipe database.
Yeah. And Nutella. I was spreading Nutella on some toast. It was really good. It was really fattening. It wasn't really that good for me. But that was part of what was an interesting part of the program, is that you encouraged us to post pictures of what we were eating and then have conversations with the people about what we were doing and kind of get feedback and stuff. And it's also, it can be embarrassing maybe. It can be accountability. What it did for me is it helped me look at this stuff and say, am I getting the right protein, carbs, and fats that I should be getting for the day? Am I eating the right foods? Am I getting the appropriate amount of serves of fruits and vegetables that you tell us we should be getting each day? This, we learn more about that in the Healthy Lifestyle Challenge that people have available to them. But what I eat now is so different than what I ate then that the result is, as you mentioned earlier, that I'm the fastest and the leanest that I've been since I started my training 4 years ago. And I continue to get faster. I don't know how much leaner I would get because I'm not really trying to get leaner. I don't need to be leaner. I think strength training, of course, is an important aspect and just trying to stay at a healthy weight. But I am getting faster and I'm feeling really good. And it's all thanks to a great nutrition program that goes along with a great training program.
Thank you, Kelly.
I've used some of your recipes from your recipe database, so that's really very helpful. It's there. There's a lot of other things that a bachelor like me can prepare, and that you don't really necessarily have to look at it and go, oh, I know I'm a disaster, but I'm just too lazy to do anything better. I can still be very successful at eating fairly healthy food as a bachelor because I know what it is that I'm trying to do. I know what the good choices are, and most of the time I'm making some pretty good choices. Sometimes I'm not making good choices, but I know the consequences. You've taught us the consequences of what it is. And so I'm knowingly making those choices. And hopefully we're going to get into this a little bit later about race performance results, but the results are there. I keep getting faster. I'm doing really well. And so I feel like my nutrition is getting me where I need to be. Maybe I could be more optimized. Maybe I could improve performance faster. But I don't want triathlon to be this burden, to be this weight around my neck. I want it to be a very enjoyable lifestyle. So I do balance training and healthy nutrition with eating other stuff that I might like to eat once in a while, but still getting performance results that I'm impressed with myself. I'm impressed with how well things are going.
Let's talk about some of those results, because you've all achieved some pretty amazing things since I've met you. And now is not the time to be modest. I want to give you a platform to share some of that stuff. So please don't leave anything out. Erin, can you share some of your epic achievements? You've done the ultimate trifecta in the time I've known you. You have leaned up, you've put on muscle tissue, like lean muscle mass, you've built muscle strength and improved your performance pretty much all simultaneously.
So the first couple of years that right after, so I guess I'm 2.5 years in now, I guess, to the program. And we'll say the first year and a half, I was interested solely in performance. So I was very intentional with my fueling to make sure that my performance was the best it could possibly be. And then I looked ahead at a schedule that had a very climby course, Ironman Lake Placid, and I knew that I was carrying about 50 pounds more than I would like to carry around that course. So last summer, as in 2024, so I guess that's a summer and a half ago now, I decided to be not only intentional about eating to performance, but I also got very intentional about being more mindful on how much training I was doing so that I could eat a little bit less and work on prioritizing protein, honestly, and losing a little bit of weight while still trying to increase muscle mass. And in about 6 months, I lost 48 pounds. And I had done that a few times in my triathlon history, but I'm happy to say that I'm still exactly where I was a year ago. I have not gained that weight back. And even though I haven't gained any pounds, I have gained mass, so muscle mass. So obviously I've still continued to lose some of the fluff and gotten much stronger. I can now deadlift my future son-in-law's weight.
Tick.
Check. In the meantime, I took 2 hours off of my Ironman time on the same course 10 years later. I am going to Worlds for Aquabike long course this year. I'm representing Team USA. And yeah, I absolutely hit every start line with a real chance of a PR, a podium, or just a better performance than the time before. It's so fun.
I told you not to be modest. What about all that bling that you've got sitting behind you normally in your pain cave? Give us some of the highlights. Come on.
So one of the ones that I'm definitely the most proud of was I was 2023 Aquabike Masters Athlete of the Year. And in 2024, I was an honorable mention for the same thing. So we don't know 2025 results just yet. And because I'm going to Worlds in 2026, I hope that I'll be able to continue at least showing up on the radar for that every year, because aquabike's definitely my jam.
Yes. And there's plenty more bling to go with that as well. Every time you raced, you did some sort of PR. You went faster, like fastest bike split in lots of races. You're standing on the podium, which isn't something that you used to do, or you maybe did, but the times were so different to what you've been posting these days.
Yeah. In a 70.3, I'm about an hour faster than I used to be. And like I said, the Ironman, I was almost 2 full hours faster this time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I told you not to be modest, okay? No holds barred. Like, this is a safe place where you can shout it to the rooftops about how awesome you are. Nobody's going to judge you.
I'm the most proud of keeping the weight off for a full year. That to me is the biggest accomplishment of all of it, while still
that is amazing
performing.
To not do these ones, to just line in the sand, this is it, and now maintain. And you've maintained it for a year now as well. It's not just a short period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, amazing. So, Jo, you are fresh off the boat from Worlds in Marbella. And as a newish triathlete, you also took on one of the toughest bike courses ever. You have a full racing calendar just like Erin. And like you said before, you've just done the Disney Dopey Challenge, which is the 5K, 10K, half marathon in 4 days. God knows. God knows why you thought that was a good idea, but, it looked fun.
It was the medals. The medals and the costumes. It was absolutely amazing. But it is actually not a joke either. Like, the Dopey Challenge is actually really hard. And all the photos are all smiling. And I think, for me, that's amazing. Like, to be able to do endurance events and back up every day. Like, we were up at kind of 2 o'clock 2 a.m.
Crazy.
Every day, just to get all the costumes ready to get on the bus and get over and do all of the pre-race stuff, 4 days in a row. And and then walking through theme parks and jumping on rides every day as well. So it was such a physical challenge to manage the racing and time with family and fun and all that kind of stuff. And to be able to smile my way through that and adjust as I went along to the like building fatigue. Yeah, I definitely had a lot of confidence in doing that. I think what I'm most proud of is just having a reputation for finishing and finishing with a smile, I know for certain that people look at my schedule sometimes and hear the goals that I have and how much is back to back and going from one thing to the next goal. Like I never finish a race and don't have, knowing exactly what I'm doing next, Yeah. And I know that sometimes people are like, wow, like, are you really going to be able to pull that off? And being able to build a reputation for actually pulling it off and actually being able to say, yes, I did that, and constantly stepping that up. Yeah, I'm just most proud of that.
And you can't do that without the right nutrition either. You can't just go and do that and survive.
Absolutely not. Like it's also about managing the energy levels, the recovery, just the timing of all the things that you need to plan for to do that. I'm a very meticulous OCD kind of person that, I have all those things in mind. And so it's really good to be able to be so supported by you, Taryn, and by the people in this group who I've learned so much from as well. I mean, Erin and Kelly, I'm huge fans of both of them. What they are achieving and the things that they're doing are goals of mine as well. I got into triathlon wanting to age well and hopefully over time to be able to get better results as I got older and kind of moved out of rookie stage and into intermediate or, whatever. So I would really like to, be able to continue to be spending time with these athletes who achieve such amazing things and are all doing it in a way that I think is super inspiring.
I agree. I have to come to Cairns 2026 and Santa Cruz 2027 so we can all hang out together again. Now, Kelly, you're an absolute weapon. As you've already said, you're the leanest, fastest, healthiest you've ever been at 66. And you really feel like you've got everything dialed in and you're confident in your plan, which is amazing. Can you share some of your awesome achievements over the last few years?
Yeah, certainly. I think one of the most recent achievements is comparing the Sunny Coast 70.3 that we just completed last September 2025. And I bring that up because I had performed Sunny Coast 70.3 in the year prior in 2024. So I seldom repeat a race, especially when I have to travel. I seldom am at the same race venue. So having the same race venue 2 years in a row is an excellent opportunity to compare my spreadsheet data. So whenever we raced in 2025, I'm just so happy with myself about this. I really trained hard all year round, but I train all year round anyway. I train a lot. But when I went back to Sunny Coast in 2025, I shaved off 5.5 minutes from the swim alone. 5.5 minute gain on the swim. That's impressive, right? I mean, I've never made that kind of gains in a swim in all the years. And I've only been doing this triathlon for 4 years this time around. So in 1 year to shave off 5.5 minutes was pretty impressive. Then on the bike, I shaved off 13 minutes. Now there I had some new equipment. So equipment contributed a little bit to that. But on the run, I shaved off 2.5 minutes. And that was impressive. In fact, I was feeling really so good on the run that I was having, I did the second half faster than the first half of the run. I really felt good. And although my legs were a little tired, I really felt like I can do better. And I was able to power through it and really did well. So overall, I shaved 21 minutes. If you add all those up, you get about 21 minutes of time saved from the year prior. When I was doing that, I thought back to whenever I did my first 70.3, which was in December of 2022. So I'd only been doing triathlon about a year, not quite a year, when I had to do my first 70.3, right? We're all trying to hurry and get to our longest distance right away. So I did a 70.3 and I had a finish time of 7 hours. And that was hard. It was one of those races where you cross the finish line and I was thinking, God, that's hard. But I went to the awards ceremony because I wanted to see what it was like. I mean, I didn't win anything, but I wanted to see. It was my first 70.3. And there's a guy there in the 70 to 75 age range. He took first place with a time of 5.5 hours. And I was thinking 5.5 hours. I did 7 hours, and he did 5.5 hours. I was thinking, God, that guy, he must have been training his whole life to be able to do that. I mean, that's impressive, right? Rather, that was impressive. So let's go back to my performance at Sunny Coast, 70.3 in 2025. My finish time was 5 hours and 25 minutes, or 5 hours and 29 minutes and some change. So right at 5.5 hours. So I matched this other guy, right? And I was thinking, that's impressive, because I've only been doing triathlon now for 4 years, and I went from 7 hours to 5.5 hours. And how was I able to do it? You certainly can look at the training program and say, yeah, the training program helped me get there. It's a good structured program. But if you don't have the energy to keep up the motivation to continually go do that training every day, day after day, for 4 years, if you think nutrition isn't contributing to that, you're kidding yourself, right? And so nutrition is one of those things that it's difficult to know when you're successful or not, right? It's difficult to know. But if you just look back at how you feel every day and how your performance has been over the years, and you shave from 7 hours down to 5.5 hours, and you just shave off 21 minutes over just 1 year period of time, that's nutrition. So thank you, Taryn, and your Triathlon Nutrition Academy program for helping me be successful and continue. I expect to continue to be successful in the coming years.
Oh, you're welcome. No pressure. So what would you say to masters athletes, Kelly, who think it might be too late for them to make such meaningful gains?
Well, back to, I've only been doing this 4 years. And so if I've shaved an hour and a half off my 70.3 time in just 4 years, that means this was pretty good improvements each year. I mean, that wasn't all just, I didn't shave an hour and a half off in just 1 year. Over those 4 years, I made incremental gains, and everybody else can also. You have your inputs, right? You have your training program. You got to follow that. You have your nutrition. You got to follow that. If you have those inputs, you still got to do the work, right? You still got to get out of bed and do the work. Anybody can see those results. There's nothing special about me and my performance other than I have a training program I follow. I eat the right food that I've been taught, the education programs taught me how to do it. And I get out of bed each day and I do the training. I do the work. And I think anybody could see those results, but you need a great training program and you need a great nutrition program. And when I say great nutrition program, I really mean education. You really need to understand the why behind what you're doing. It's not, I don't think it's an app or fragmented information that you piecemeal together or that you get ChatGPT to help you with. I mean, those bits and pieces of information can help you in certain situations, but to put together a holistic day-to-day program that helps you be successful, education is the foundation that a person needs.
Yeah, I've seen some wild things from ChatGPT outputs giving nutrition advice. And if you don't have the education to see whether that is legit or not, or, on the right track, then you are still just blindly following advice from God knows where.
Yeah.
Erin, what kind of triathlete do you think would get the most out of TNA?
Well, I mean, any triathlete really. The reality is that whether you've hit it or not yet, if you're not intentional about your nutrition, you're going to hit a ceiling. Even if you're still seeing gains from your training now, you haven't hit that ceiling yet, but if you're not intentional with your nutrition, you're going to hit a ceiling. So of course, if you've already hit the ceiling, maybe you want to join the program, but why wait? Why wait till you hit that ceiling? Because that's why we're all seeing gains. I mean, me 10 years in, Joe when she's new, and Kelly a couple of years in, we're all seeing gains since the program because we've added the layer of intentional nutrition and knowing how to accommodate for the different trainings and the different distances is what's going to remove that ceiling and allow you to continue to improve.
And what about you, Joe, as a new triathlete? Because a lot of newbies don't even think that they need help with nutrition. It's just not on their radar at all. You got to get so many things right first. Do you have any advice for people that are just starting out in our sport?
I honestly think that nutrition is a foundational skill, and the earlier you start, the better. Waiting is just setting you up for problems. And I think that definitely the earlier you start, the better. I mean, I come from the finance industry, and I've often felt like people wait to be, they think, I don't deserve financial advice or whatever else until I'm wealthy, and then I'll go and get that. It's the same kind of thing. Like if you you don't wait to be rich to go and get advice, right? Because you'll never get there. So I think it's the same thing. Like if you are identifying as, being a back of the packer or a mid pack, or, and you don't think it's going to make a huge difference, like I'm never going to be a podium athlete or whatever, well, you're writing yourself off before you've even given it a shot, basically. And I can guarantee that you will give yourself a much better chance of having longevity in the sport, having more joy in the sport, and just more confidence to engage and make decisions and to support yourself in the work that you're doing every day if you prioritize this early in your journey.
I agree. The earlier you can do it, the better. Don't wait.
It's surprising how quickly, if you get in, and a lot of triathletes come in and they're all guns blazing, right? And they sign up to one event, get addicted, and suddenly, and it's not just triathlon, you're doing marathons and all different things with your friends, and, it becomes your whole personality. It's surprising that injuries can stack pretty quickly if you are not fueling properly, and, like the bone stress can come in and all kinds of things. In this program, you don't just learn race day nutrition. Like it is every element of everything that you do every day. It's the way that you practice things. It's the way that you talk about what worked and what didn't, the way that you used feedback and failures and lessons to improve what you're doing. Like I've learned so much, and I'm just smarter as not only an athlete, but as a mum, how I feed my kids, how I feed the family. It's just been life-changing.
Oh, thank you. We're going to wrap up this epicness with a rapid fire question from each of you. If you could tell your pre-TNA self one thing about nutrition, what would it be?
Well, I would say forget everything that I learned as a kid. I just brought so many like food hang-ups and things, just from my childhood and everything else. Like eating can be quite emotional, and just to let that be in the past and move forward with confidence and support, I think that's been my biggest, learning, that it's okay to let those things go.
That's a big one. Kelly?
Whenever I had spent, some time delayed trying to figure out whether I should be starting the program or not, I would say don't delay. You might look at it and say, is it worth it or not? But what I think everybody learns is that it pays off no matter what your performance actually turns out to be, that once you learn how to eat properly and you're able to feel better, whether it's in training or just day to day, that you're going to wish you had done it earlier. So there's really no downside from being involved in a program like Triathlon Nutrition Academy. It's really helpful. And I wanted to go just briefly back to my Sunny Coast 70.3 performance. My performance was really some of my best performance. I really felt good the entire time. My hydration, everything was dialed in. I don't think I've ever had a better time, to where I've even come out to call it personal fueling best, or fueling personal best instead of just personal best. You have a fueling personal best. I coined that phrase. But that performance gained me a podium spot, which also earned me a slot to Nice World Championship in September of 2026. So good nutrition helps your dreams come true, whether you've dreamed them yet or not. But what it does is it starts making all these things possible. And so you really could do a lot worse in ways to help yourself. The good nutrition program helps you in so many ways that you should start on that journey sooner than later.
Yeah, I would tell my pre-TNA Erin that understanding and learning how to do nutrition intentionally will unlock all of the potential that you have inside of you.
Boom. What a strong message. Thank you so much, legends, for sharing a little bit about your journey as a triathlete. I know you're all far more modest than I anticipated you would be. They've achieved so much more than what we've talked about today. But if there's one thing that you take away from today's episode, it's that these results didn't come from being extreme or perfect. They came from understanding how to fuel yourself properly for 3 sports and having a framework that actually works in the real world. And then practicing, implementing, tweaking, evolving, and adapting over time. It's not a one magic bullet. I can't do that. I wish I could. I'm really sorry. Then that would be so much easier. But they have all done the work, and they are reaping the rewards from doing that. You've heard from age group triathletes at very different stages of their triathlon journey. They all have different goals, different constraints and different lives outside of their training program. But the common thread running through all of their stories is the clarity and the confidence they have when it comes to eating and nutrition. Clarity around what to eat, when to eat, why we need to do it, and how to adjust their nutrition to their training, their racing, and their life as it changes over time. So if you recognized any of yourself in this conversation and want to turn nutrition into your secret weapon, like the three of these athletes, the Triathlon Nutrition Academy is designed to teach you exactly how to do that. Inside the academy, you'll learn how, what, and why of fueling for triathlon so you can build a personalized nutrition strategy that fits your training, your lifestyle, and your race calendar. You can find all of the details at dietitianapproved.com/academy. Thank you so much to Joe, Kelly, and Erin for sharing their stories, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.